Recently, I tested an open cup versus a dirty pour method to see the differences and how they turned out. And I liked the open cup, but I didn't really think I got the effect that I wanted to. And I also thought it could be better. So I'm going to retest the open cup fluid pour today using two different variables that I think might improve that. As usual, I will start by leveling my canvas. I am using Sargent Art acrylics again. That was what I did in the first test, so I want to recreate as many of the variables as I can while controlling for what I think might improve it. In my previous test, I only poured directly into the open cup, but I think that didn't give it any structure except for what was in the cup. So what I'm going to do is actually make a little reservoir around this to hold the cup in place and ideally give something for the paint that's pouring into the open cup to kind of bubble under and up through so that I ideally get a bunch of really nice cells within this test. So I go ahead and I build that barrier, and then I'm going to go ahead and just start in a similar manner by pouring in different layers of this paint directly into this open cup and observing what happens as it starts to leak out from underneath the open cup. If you're not familiar with an open cup, this is where we just take a plastic cup and we cut off the bottom. We want the lid area to be smooth down, and then we pour through the opening. I'll speed up a little bit of this so you don't have to wait for many minutes to see when the magic starts to happen. And right about now is where you start to actually see some of that yellow especially seeping out kind of under the black and up through it. We'll let that sit a bit, and then I don't want as prominent of a ring area as I had in my previous test, so I'm going to slide this off to at least obscure some of that a bit. I already really like how this one is looking a little bit more. It's got more cells to it, and that ring area isn't the most prominent part of this painting. I will go ahead and stretch this and let you know what I think. The more I move this around, the more I like it better and better than my original test. I like the swooping areas, I like the cells that are there, I like the little bit of the preserved ribbons. It's got a better balance to it in general. So overall, I am a lot happier with this result than I was my initial test on this, but I still want to know if doing one different thing will make an even bigger difference. So let's get to that test. Moving on to the second method, I've already leveled my canvas, and the real difference here is that I actually want to set this cup on a pool of paint. So I'm just kind of marking so I know how much to put, and I'm going to go ahead and actually just put a puddle of that black paint kind of right along that so that the edges of that cup are at least kind of sitting on it. And I'm curious to see how this is going to affect, if it's going to kind of just sit in that cup or if this will encourage it to bubble out a little bit more. So we'll go ahead and start doing the pour into the open cup and see what happens. One thing that is happening with this is since it's kind of sitting, it's suspended on the paint, the cup starts to move the more and more paint I put into it because it's probably not being put in directly in the center, and that's a little bit different than my experience with my previous test. And it's a little bit hard to see on the actual video, but I do get a little bit of bubbling, but that black is kind of obscuring it. So I decided to go ahead and kind of work with the fact that the cup was moving, and I moved it a little bit more in hopes that maybe I could actually develop some of those cells to come underneath that black because the black was just too prominent. I'll try to zoom this in, and if you can see any of those little bubbles, those are actually a little bit of the color popping through the black. It's definitely hard to see on the video though. I'll speed up through the final touches of this pour. I just added a little bit more black to the bottom as well, just to make sure that I had kind of a nice coverage of paint. And then I kind of did the same thing where I swiped it off. I lifted up the cup a little bit so that I wasn't totally pushing everything off, and I just kind of barely dragged it across the surface of the paint. Okay, I will go ahead and stretch this in speed format and let you know what I think about the two different second methods of the open cup test. Here's a second look at my second test, and then a second look at my second test right here. In general, I liked both of these better than my initial run where I compared the open cup versus the dirty cup method. So if you're going to try this, definitely either create a barrier or actually put it on kind of some paint padding before you do it. You'll get really neat cells, and it's a fun way to do this. I think that my black color really kind of covered a lot of the interesting parts of this, but I do like the high contrast. What do you think? Are you going to try the open cup test? Have you had good results? Let me know. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to see more videos like this, please subscribe to my channel. If you're local to Northern Colorado and would like to take a class, visit rebelunicorncrafts.com to see my class listings. If you'd just like to see what I'm up to, visit my Instagram at rebelunicorncrafts, or if you'd like to see my art, you can visit my other Instagram at LaceyWalkerArt. Thank you again for watching, and I hope you have a magically creative day.